They were here before the first human footprint touched this earth. They built kingdoms where the ocean now sleeps. They guided us until we betrayed them. And now they walk among us, waiting. But if you ever meet one inside the deep forest, whatever you do, don't look at their feet. Before the ice melted, before the sea swallowed half the world, there was Sundaland, a continent larger than India, lush, sacred, invisible to modern maps, but not to the ancients. Here, the first advanced civilization was not built by humans. It was built by them. The elders of the forest, the original guides. We later called them the Bunian. Don't look at their feet. The dark origin of the Bunian. Nightfall approaches as dusk slowly creeps into the homes our grandmothers used to whisper in soft voices. Children, don't play outside too long. Out there are those who are unseen. They love to come out at twilight, and they love children who are still wandering in the silent hours. They called them the Bunian.
The Bunian, sometimes simply called Bunian, are one of the most powerful and mysterious supernatural beings believed to live in another realm, right beside us, yet invisible. The term Bunian itself comes from the Malay language, literally meaning hidden people, or those who whisper. It means they are always around us, but only their whispers or footsteps are sometimes heard.
For the Minangkabau and Malay communities, the Bunian are even defined as a hidden tribe, inhabiting places uninhabited by humans, such as deep jungles or riverbacks in the interior. And interestingly, but where do they actually come from? Stories about the origin of the Bunian are very diverse. Some say they were once ordinary humans who turned invisible due to a certain event. Others consider them the original inhabitants of the earth, beings who existed long before modern humans arrived in the archipelago.
What makes this legend so vivid is how the local people describe them. The ethereal, forest-dwelling humanoid spirits are described as very similar to humans. They have hands, feet, heads, and other body parts. In fact, their social structure is just as complex as ours.
They live in a large community led by a tall, regal man wearing an ornate golden crown, heavy velvet royal robes with fur trim, and a thick beard. They have families, clans, and a very organized culture.
They are also described as beautiful, but there is one feature that cannot be faked. It is said that if you ever stand before them, look closely at their face. They say, the Bunian do not have a philtrum, the vertical groove between the upper lip and the base of the nose that normal humans possess.
Folklore changes with time, but the patterns remain. Let's find the traces.
From river mouths to mountain shrines, different names, the same story. A people living parallel to ours.
Oh, Bach. Either it's mass hallucination,
or there's something we don't understand about human perception.
But it's not just their physical appearance that makes them so memorable. In every region, the stories of how the Bunian interact with humans Tumacs, Palensi, Kalimantan Insula, with Philippines are different. In Jambi, around the peaks of Mount Kerinci and Mount Tuju, the forest dwellers are known as short people, the tiny humanoid inhabitants. They are masters of hiding in the accessible jungle, described as small-bodied with feet turned backward, heels in front, toes in back.
It is said that hikers on Mount Tuju often see small footprints left on the trekking path, even when no one else is around. And at night, they hear the sound of children's laughter echoing outside their tents.
They believe that is the Bunian playing, testing the humans who dare to enter their territory.
Second, in Riau. The story is more romantic yet tragic. There is a tale of an accidental encounter between a fisherman and a maiden from another realm on the banks of the Campo River.
Jaka got lost while fishing at night. He heard a beautiful voice, which led him to a brightly lit meadow where the Bunian were dancing. A spark of love blossomed between them. But the rules between dimensions were too strong. Although Sari helped Jaka return to his village, the forbidden relationship could not continue. This story illustrates how the boundary between the human world and the Bunian is a thin line that must not be crossed.
Third, in Kalimantan, the belief in the Bunian is more than just a scary myth. In a real incident during a massive forest fire that hit the Sambas region, members of the local disaster agency who possess spiritual sight testified that they saw the Bunian pouring out of the forest, helping firefighters extinguish the flames that were destroying their habitat. This shows that although mysterious and often frightening, behind the mist of the Kalimantan jungle, the Bunian are also considered wise guardians of nature who are willing to help humans when the natural world is in chaos.
Fourth, in Malaysia, across the sea, on the Malay Peninsula, the legend of the Bunian reaches its peak through the famous story, The Princess of Mount Ledang, Puteri Gunung Ledang. Many historians and mystics believe that this legendary princess was not an ordinary human, but a Bunian queen or a celestial being. In the Malay annals, it is told that Sultan Mahmud Shah of Malacca, after the death of his queen, sent Hang Tuah to ask for the hand of the famously beautiful princess of Mount Ledang. The princess, believed to be a Bunian, then presented impossible conditions: a golden bridge from Malacca to the mountain, the heart of a mosquito, and the tears of a virgin. The enraged sultan was unable to fulfill them, and the entourage returned empty-handed. This serves as a reminder that humans may never be able to fully conquer the inhabitants of the unseen realm.
Nyanyian bunian di puncak gunung.
Fifth, in the Philippines. And interestingly, the belief in beings like the elf Bunian is not only found in the archipelago and the Malay Peninsula, but also in the Philippines. The locals know them as Enkanto, or sometimes Diwata for nature spirits that inhabit forests and mountains, and Tamawo for those dwelling in rivers. The Enkanto are described as extremely beautiful beings, lacking a philtrum and fond of borrowing humans to live in their realm.
The similarities in physical description and behavior between the Enkanto and the Bunian further strengthen the theory that this is not merely a local legend, but a collective memory of the entire Southeast Asian family about beings that once existed in Sundaland. This is not merely a local legend, but a collective memory of the entire South Asian family then. We dismiss them as myths. But what if stories of these pale beings living in a parallel dimension are the collective memory of our ancient continent, Sundaland? These pale beings once thrived in harmony with the land.
Imagine Southeast Asia 50,000 years ago, a boundless landmass. This wasn't a peaceful tropical paradise. This was a harsh, mystical, and terrifying world. A real-life era of dark fantasy.
Before the first human foot touched this earth, Sundaland was not a quiet garden. It was an arena. A dark fantasy battlefield where multiple intelligent species fought for survival, power, and dominion. This was the era of the tall, slender humanoids with pointed ears, long flowing hair, and ornate, ethereal, silver-threaded robes, the ancestors of what we now call the Bunian. But they were not alone. They shared this world with monstrous races that modern histology has turned into legends. But back then, they were real.
The ancient high-statured, pointed-eared beings were the first great civilization of Sundaland. Standing nearly 3 meters tall, with porcelain skin and ears so long they touched their shoulders.
They lived for thousands of years, and they considered themselves the guardians of the cosmic balance. But power attracts challengers.
And from the southern jungles came the Hanuman.
The Hanuman were not monkeys as you know them today. They were an intelligent, warlike humanoid race, standing between 2 to 3 meters tall, with muscular bodies covered in fur and faces that resembled the macaques and langurs of Southeast Asia.
But they had opposable thumbs, complex language, metal forging, and a rigid caste system. They worshipped a great monkey god. Some say it was the original Hanmai, the one later written into the Ramathe.
They built massive temple cities into mountains, carved entire peaks into giant faces of their kings. And they were not primitive. They were a warrior civilization that rivaled the Proto-Elves. And for thousands of years they fought.
Then came the Titans. The Gundorowo, as the ancient Javanese manuscripts call them, were not flesh and blood. They were living mountains, stone giants that slept for centuries and woke only to claim territory. And claim territory they did. Their footsteps caused earthquakes. Their roars created storms. The Proto-Elves considered them mindless beasts. The Hanuman tried to worship them, but the Titans cared for nothing except domination. And when they walked, entire forests flattened, rivers changed course, and civilizations crumbled. The war between the elves and the paused whenever a Titan woke, because against a Titan, there was no victory, only survival.
But the most feared race in Sundaland were not the elves, nor the Hanuman, nor even the Titans. It was the Raksasa, The cannibal giants were a race of flesh-eating humanoids, standing between 4 to 5 meters tall. They had no kingdoms, only hunting grounds. Their only god was their stomach, and their only prayer was the scream of their prey. The Proto-Elves formed elite great walls to keep them out. The Hanuman formed elite warrior squads to hunt them, but the Raksasa always returned, because in Sundaland there was always something hungry in the dark. Hanuman formed elite warrior squads to hunt them, but the Raksasa always returned, because in Sundaland there was always something hungry in the dark.
And above them all, the dragons. Not the Western fire-breathing lizards of European myth. These were the Naga of Southeast Asia, serpentine, wise, but utterly terrifying.
They could control weather. They could grow to the size of a mountain range. They could breathe not just fire, but lightning, acid, and even magical mist that could erase memories. The Proto-Elves feared them. The Hanuman tried to tame them and failed. The Titans ignored them. But the dragons cared for only one thing: their territory. And if you entered their airspace, others were the original guardians of Sundamanda Gundid, dared to challenge a dragon alone. And then there were the gods, but not the benevolent creators of modern religion. The gods of Sundaria were simply more powerful entities, beings of pure elemental force. They did not create the world, they were born from it. They did not love humanity, because humanity did not yet exist.
Sometimes they intervened, not out of kindness, but out of boredom. A fire god might incinerate an entire elf city for fun. A water god might drown a Hanuman temple because he was annoyed. The Proto-Elves worshipped them out of fear.
The Hanuman tried to bargain with them, but the gods were not myths. They were real. They were terrifying. And they are still here today. Sleeping under volcanoes. Hiding in deep oceans. Watching from the stars. Waiting. Now we arrive at the most controversial theory of all. Charles Darwin famously proposed that humans evolved from apes. He traveled the world, collecting fossils of ancient hominids, creatures that walked upright, had larger brains than monkeys, but still possessed primitive features. He called them our ancestors, the missing link. But Darwin made one fatal mistake. He assumed these fossils were the beginning of Homo sapiens. He was wrong. These were not the ancestors of humans. These were the descendants of something far older. These were the degraded remnants of the Hanuman. A phrenistic maningri. The sacred monkey race, descended from the gods themselves.
After millennia of warfare with the Proto-Elves, the Titans, the Raksasa, and the dragons, the Hanuman civilization collapsed. The survivors scattered into the jungles, without their temples, without their kings, without their language. They devolved. Their offspring grew smaller, their fur thinned, their skulls rounded, their intelligence faded. What emerged from this dark age of Sundaland
was not a new species. It was a broken one, and we call them Homo erectus, Australopithecus.
This was the Great War before man. For 10,000 years, the races of Sundaland fought. No alliances lasted. No peace endured. The Proto-Elves wanted order. The Hanuman wanted freedom. The Titans wanted silence. The Raksasa wanted flesh. The dragons wanted territory. The gods wanted entertainment. And the earth bled. Mountains were leveled. Oceans boiled. Islands sank. This endless dark fantasy was the true face of Sundaland. Not a lost paradise, but a hell that had forgotten how to be quiet. And then something unexpected happened. The violence began to slow, not because anyone won, but because everyone was exhausted. The Proto-Elves retreated into their crystal cities and shifted their frequency, coming the Bunian we know today. The Hanuman scattered, the Titans fell asleep, the Raksasa burrowed underground, the dragons flew east. The gods grew bored and turned their attention elsewhere. And into this silence stepped a new creature. Small, weak.
Hairless is short-lived. Humans. Hair is less. And we inherited a world that had been emptied.
So the next time you see a reconstruction of Java Man or Peking Man in a textbook, remember, you are not looking at your great-great-great-grandfather.
You are looking at a survivor, the being who once spoke to gods, who once wielded magic to build empires, and time reduced him. You are looking at a survivor, the being who war-wielded magic, but now we call him primitive. Darwin was not wrong about evolution. He would wrong climb up from direction. We fell down from the stars. The Hanuman fell, and we are what remains. But somewhere in the deep forests of South Hindare's enter. The Hanuman fell. But somewhere in the deep forests of Southeast Asia, there may still be pure-blooded Hanuman.
Watching, waiting, remembering. And one day, perhaps, they will return to claim their throne.